we're at 10 o'clock.
Yes.
Jacob Nemi, I think you have something special for us.
Yeah, I was requested that or
Yes,
suggested that maybe I should offer this live.
demanded. The community is demanding.
I'm so honored to share this with you all and to have been inspired by our work here together to create something new. Usually, I'm not able to find my creative voice when I'm in times of stress. Oftentimes, most of my compositional output when I was in school would happen during the summer when there was significantly lower stress. So for this to have come out means that that I've been very deeply moved by my time here with all of you and everybody's offerings. So here is live an interpretation of verses from Psalms 3 and 4. Lay me down in peace, lay me down in wholeness. For you alone, oh God, keep me safe from harm. Lay me down in trust, lay me down in faithfulness, and let me not forget that you are with me. Koli el Adonai ekra, vaya aneni mehar kodsho. Koli el Adonai ekra, vaya aneni mehar kodsho. Lay me down in peace, lay me down in wholeness. For you alone, oh God, keep me safe from harm. Lay me down in trust, lay me down in faithfulness, and let me not forget that you are with me. Lay me down tonight, but don't lay me down alone. And when I call out, will you answer? Koli el Adonai ekra, vaya aneni mehar kodsho. Koli el Adonai ekra, vaya aneni mehar kodsho. Lay me down in love, lay me down in gratitude for all that I still have and all that's yet to be. Lay me down in grace, lay me down in glory, and raise me up again for a new day. Holy El Adonai ekra, vaya aneni mehar kodsho. Holy El Adonai ekra, vaya aneni mehar kodsho. Holy El Adonai ekra, vaya aneni mehar kodsho. Koli el Adonai ekra, vaya aneni mehar kodsho.
Wow. So how many people more deeply understand the psalm from listening to that? I do. And that's an incredible example of what music can do, and also by going into the words in a slightly different angle, bringing out what that meaning is for Jacob makes it much more meaningful for me. Incredible. By the way, I hear in my little mind here a great choral setting for that, for the chorus. I think this is something we got to do at CBST, and I think we got to do a choral setting for the chorus to do with you singing the solo verses. Incredible, Jacob.
Anybody who is a little bit, maybe a little more proficient at choral arranging than I am, by all means.
That's not me, but I can hear it. I can hear it. For somebody who can do that, it's really, really this. In some ways, I feel like this is, for me, this feels like an anthem for CBST from this moment of time we're in.
Oh,
well, I think
it
really is.
I'm very honored to hear that feedback. Thank you.
Really, I'm so touched by it. The music and also the translation and the really magnificent.
Thank you.
And I think others will see how. So Jacob really understands the Hebrew, so he's able to actually let go of the Hebrew a little bit. That's part of the power as you get more and more comfortable. The exploration of, I love what you did with Har Kodesh, the holy mountain. It became a place of being answered from, not just a physical place. Just really beautiful. All right, I think we're going to hear a couple of Psalm 4s. And then we'll go on to Psalm 5 today. Good to see everybody this morning. Yesterday was a beautiful day weather-wise. Shabbos was a bizarre day weather-wise, but a beautiful day at shul. Did everybody see the snow? Did you have snow where you were? We had about 3 minutes of but very cold. But we had a beautiful Shabbos morning service for the B'nai Mitzvah of 3 of our community members. And so here we are, Monday morning. So Hillary.
Wow, I'm not really recovered from Jacob's song, but here we go. Okay, let's play. You're on the spot. Actor, speak. Me. I want the freedom that you promised me. Why don't you answer when I call? Are you waiting for flattery? I'm in a tight spot and I need some compassion now. You. Dear child, I know it is my lot to listen to your clueless questions, but you're looking in all the wrong places. Chorus. Closer. You. Here's an idea for you. If you look in the right place and in the right way, freedom is just around the corner. It's closer than you think. Me. I've been searching for so long and looking everywhere. How is it you evade my gaze? You. You offend me by imagining that I'm your invention. Look where you're afraid to look, close to the origin. Speak softly to the pad of your shoulder, the cradle of your neck, the cave of your belly. Stop searching outside of me for an idea like guilt or praise to affirm what only you can know. The name you give your experience will always reflect your experience with a new slant. It is not you, and certainly not me. Give it up. Chorus. Closer. You. My children say, who will show us good things? Open your eyes and notice light. I'm right there. Hold the valley of the heart with both hands. Partake fully of the food that swims on your tongue for tasting. And truly rest in the bed of your body. Don't writhe in your beds. Be at peace, safe, closer.
Wow, I love your exploration of the structure by seeing this as a dialogue and a play, as it were. I really love it, and also the challenging of why don't you answer me when I call? I love that. So just tell us a little bit about writing it, Hillary.
Well, I wrote a lot of renditions of this psalm. And I couldn't find myself. I was writing it and it was like a lot of reactions to it. You know, some angry, some I tried to move away from the psalm and sort of do my own thing. And I just wasn't happy with that. And I just wanted to come back to the psalm and try to find real meaning for myself in it. You know, I always feel like I'm not really satisfied unless I can try to do that in some way. So that was it. And I just try to have a different take on it to kind of understand the voices a little bit, so I could hear it in myself.
Well, you know, sometimes writing is like building scaffolding, and what you end up writing first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh time isn't the ultimate piece, but it's the scaffolding, and you take that away and then you have what you want. So it's really sometimes very important to write many different versions. So I love it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Stephen. Stephen, you're here?
I'm here. Sorry, I was on mute. So mine is not based on Psalm 4, but it was based on Laminatseach, the word, and then I found that song from Geula Gil. So if that's okay, I did it on that instead.
Well, actually, Laminatseach is from Psalm 4, so that it's from one word in Psalm 4 still makes it from Psalm 4.
Okay, good. So I did the assignment right. I'll read it and then I can explain it. They say this is a song for a victor, but who is the victor? Is it me? They say this is a song for a conductor, but who is my conductor? Is it me? They say the Almighty will rise, but who is the Almighty? Is it me? They say the Almighty will go forward, but what is holding me back? Is it me? They say the Almighty's enemies will scatter, but will my enemy remain? Is my enemy me? They say the Almighty neither sleeps nor slumbers, but what if all I can do is sleep and slumber? Is it me? They say that those that hate the Almighty will flee, but what if I hate myself? Will I flee? They say this is the song for psalms, but what is my song? Who will sing for me? Please, God, hear my prayer. Heal me now.
So speak to us.
Well, listening to that song, which was a song from, you know, my youth, was a very happy song, and I researched it, and it was all about, you know, Israel's victory song, which obviously politically was different when they founded the state of Israel and during the Six-Day War than now. But for some reason, for me, I took it very personally and looked inside, and it came out much darker than I was expecting it to be. But it was really the feelings of, I can blame everything on what's going on and circumstances, but a lot of the issues that I'm in right now in my life have to do with me and my own, that I have to be my own victor, that I can't wait for somebody else to come and solve my problems for me.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And taking one word of a psalm and exploring it has ancient Jewish practice, and you'll see a phrase, a word, and that's totally legitimate. And I love the way that one word inspired you to this place. So I love that. Okay, Yael.
When I'm in a narrow place, I don't call to God. God doesn't respond to me. God doesn't comfort me. There is no God, said my father. My father, whose own father traveled by horse and carriage to the next town to buy kosher meat. We are not believers, said my father. We are rational beings. The Chazan prayed El Maleh Rachamim on the radio for Yom HaShoah commemoration. This is a lie, said my mother. God is not full of mercy. If God were full of mercy, said my mother, father, brother, sister would not have been murdered by the Nazis. If God were full of mercy, said my mother, I would not have lost my family, freedom, house, community, education. When I'm in a narrow place, I am comforted by family. I am comforted by my house. I'm comforted by friends. I'm comforted by community. I'm comforted by prayer. I'm comforted by studying Torah. I'm not comforted by God. I don't believe in God.
Fabulous and so powerful, and in a deep tradition of Jewish prayer and Psalms, which are angry at God or reject God entirely. So you're in good Jewish tradition here. This is really very, very powerful. And I love that you do not capitalize God. That's making a very strong statement, which totally is consistent with your themes here. And I love the way that you take the reference to narrow place, and that's not, and you're clearly resonating with the concept of being in a narrow place. You certainly know what that is.
Sure.
But
As we all do.
as we all do, for sure. But what you're rejecting here is where you get the comfort. But you are describing where you do get the comfort, which is very, very powerful. I love this. I totally love this. And really, this is a very, Yael, you're in very good Jewish tradition here.
It's good to hear.
Yes, it's absolutely, this is deeply Jewish to be
Yeah.
so angry and reject, and to just reject the concept of God. But all of these other things are very powerful in your life. There are some who would say, well, that's exactly where we can find whatever it is by godliness. Reconstructionism talks about the predicate God, that we know God through the godliness, through what we do, not through some kind of God acting in a certain way.
Right.
Beautiful. Thank you. So is that it for 4?
That's it for 4.
So thank you, everybody. And I really appreciate people posting things in the Facebook group, so it gives a chance to look at them. And Harold has had a fabulous idea that when we complete Psalm 5, in 5 weeks from now, whenever we get through Psalm 5, that we will consider gathering all the Psalms which have been written on Psalms 1 through 5, and doing some kind of self-publication. And we're looking for somebody to work with Harold to take it off his, what?
I actually have someone.
You have somebody. I didn't know.
Yes.
Harold, give us an update.
Megan Kosi has agreed to help, and we're going to talk this afternoon. And before everybody writes to me, we will gather the texts we have. We will put them together. We will give all of our authors a chance to proofread.
Text and visual images. We'll also,
yes, text and visual images, everything. We will give everyone a chance to take a look at what they've submitted, to take a look at the formatting that we're suggesting. It'll be back and forth. It'll be relatively fast, but we will capture everyone, and then we will put it in a format where it can be printed out on a home computer and stapled and distributed electronically.
And we'll do this every 5 Psalms. So every
5 Psalms, we'll put out another little book. Thank you, Sherry, for sending me your chapbooks. I have to say that this was one of the inspirations. So we are going to start doing our initial work and our formatting and figure out what it looks like now, so that when we get our Psalms 5, we can just slot them in and we'll be ready to go.
How exciting is this? We're going to have also a audio version, so that we have this music for Jacob Nemi's piece.
An audio version of a Zoom launch party. There's the movie.
Well, yeah, we'll have
documentary,
the movie.
the making
Psalms,
of.
right,
video.
Psalms the movie.
Psalms the movie.
Psalms the movie, yeah. All right, Aaron. So let's look at Psalm 5. We're going to start Psalm 5. And I don't know if you have it, so we'll look at it on the screen. Psalm 5 begins Lamanatseach. Oh, by the way, a couple of things I wanted to point out. I've been disturbed that we don't have a female translator who's explored all of the Psalms the way we have Mitchell and Alter and Norman Fisher, etc. And I did find this book, which I've been studying, and I'll be sharing some of the Psalms from it with you, Harold, by Gaia Aronoff Bernstein, who's a medical doctor, a physician, and a Jew, I think from the Upper West Side. And she's done a wonderful edition of 150 Psalms in her own translation. And what she's done, which is very interesting, at the back of from the Hebrew side, she has all 150 in Hebrew. And then she has 150 with a basic translation. And then she has 150 of her own personal translations, and she calls the book Psalm Songs to emphasize the Psalms were sung. So I will be now integrating some of her.
Rabbi,
Yes.
Rabbi, it's Judy. I gave to Harold a title of a book and Psalm 4. It was not a Jewish person. It's a former nun, a lesbian, who printed a book, and the information, Harold has the information on it, and I gave him the copy of 4, Psalm 4.
Oh,
And it's on the web, it's on the Facebook
and
page.
it's a wonderful, wonderful stuff, but of course it's not
fantastic.
It's very humanistic.
Yes, terrific. So we'll be looking at, as appropriate for every Psalm. We're not looking at every translation. I'm trying to bring out different things. So let's look at Psalm 5. The first verse, first of all, we now are beginning to recognize some structures of the superscription, if it were. Again, some argue it's only a superscription. Some argue they're part of the Psalm itself. And as I mentioned yesterday, yesterday was Friday. Okay, Lamanatseach el hanechilot mizmor leDavid. So nobody really knows Lamanatseach. We encountered that in Psalm 4. We think it's some kind of leader, or maybe it's a conductor. If this is maybe these are instructions to the lead, to whoever's responsible for the music for which the psalm is set, or it's somehow, so here it's just translated very simply, for the leader. It's not making a decision. Alter always translates Lamanatseach as lead player, so indicating it is somehow the first violinist or the conductor, the person responsible for the musicians. Nechilot, clearly this, another word, we don't really know what it means. Some translators imagine this to be in contrast to in Psalm 4, it says baniginot, and baniginot for some mean string instruments. So those who believe that baniginot means string instruments think that nechilot means some kind of wind instrument. So do the conductor, but you see this translator has given up trying to know for sure what it means. I see, do other people have other translations in front of you of nechilot? All right, so if other people want to have other, so this translator is not attempting to decide. Alter also says nechilot. He's not convinced of what it is, but you'll see, I'm sure, in some translations that it's the wind instruments. And again, so we come back to the Mizmor leDavid. Alter will keep saying a David psalm, and others will say a psalm of David. That's verse 1. Verse 2. Is that Amarai? Yeah. Amarai ha'azina. Yud he vav he Hashem bina hagigi. So again, the first, I see Regina said chief musician for flutes. So that's how they get flutes as one version of a wind instrument, to be in contrast to the string instruments from Psalm 4. So this shoresh, aleph mem resh, the first word of line 2, we've encountered before. In modern Hebrew, it means to speak it's a simple word. It doesn't have very deep meaning in modern Hebrew. In biblical Hebrew, it has a bunch of different, we understand it either, we encountered it earlier as meaning more, not just speak, but really to reflect on, or to give, to meditate on. It has a broader meaning and not always clear than the simple modern Hebrew meaning. So for those of you who know modern Hebrew, stay a little open to this word. It's not as simple as in modern Hebrew. And ha'azina. So this is a very interesting word for us to focus on a little bit. And where is do we see the etnachta in this verse? No etnachta, but there's a psik, as I now have the word for that, which I never knew, which is that parallel line. So the line itself is dividing the verse, but without the cantillation mark. So what is an ozen in Hebrew? An ozen is an ear. So this is a very interesting, so this translator is saying ha'azina, which is a very kind of an archaic form, a very formal form. It's a very, it would sound Shakespearean in Hebrew. You know, you would never say that in modern Hebrew. But so give ear, ha'azina, ozen is an ear, also in modern Hebrew, ozen is ear. So give ear, ha'azina is a expression, ear, to my speech. So here the amarai is, if I translated this word for word in Hebrew, is my speech, give ear. Okay? And then the second phrase, Yud He Vav He Hashem, the 4-letter name of God. So we have God's name in the middle, right smack in the middle of these 5 words. There are 5 words in this verse. The middle word is God. And then the second part of the phrase is Bina Hagigi. Bina is lahavin, like some of you know the word maven, meaning smarty pants. Some
You just froze, Rabbi.
discernment. I froze. Okay.
Yes,
Am I
froze.
back?
You're back.
Am I back?
You're back.
All right. I don't know why I'm freezing since I'm hardwired here. So Bina is from lahavin, or maven, or havana. There are a lot of words that have this shoresh. Chabad, by the way, which stands for Chachma, Bina, and Da'at. Bina is the middle word for Chabad. So it's some word of understanding. Am I still freezing? Am I okay?
You're good.
Hagigi, so my utterance. So understand what I'm trying to say. Verse 3, Hakshiva, lahakshiv, so to pay attention to. Yael, did they use this word in the, like when you were a kid, hakshiva na? Was that ever used?
Well, not in this, not hakshiva na, but takshivu, you tell kids to
Takshivu.
listen to you, hakshivu.
Yeah. So it's still used, hakshiva, and this is a particular form of, it's called cohortative for those of you who are, well, it's actually not. This is hifil, but it's hakshiva. So listen and then seek. So that's very, so there's a, so listen has a big, or pay attention to, or be, you know, be focused on. Very, it's more, it's stronger than listen to. It's pay attention to. Likol, to the voice. We had the word voice, call before. Shav'i, to the cry of my voice. Malki, my king. Melech, Malking, Velohai, and my God. Ki elecha, because elecha, to you, et palal, I pray. So listen to me, hear me, listen to me, to the cry of my voice, my king, my God, ki elecha, because to you I'm praying, et palal. Okay, verse 4, Yud He Vav He, the big name of God, right? In verse 3, we had Velohai, not the big name of God. So whenever we see this 4-letter name of God, it's to be paid attention to. Yud He Vav He, Boker, Tishma Koli. So this is interesting. Boker means morning, and or literally sunrise, daybreak. So Boker Tishma Koli, listen to me, listen to my voice, hear my voice. Now we have Tishma from the Shoresh Shin Mem Aleph, to hear, which is a different way of saying what we had above for the Hakshiva. So up in the verse before we had Hakshiva, pay attention to my voice. A repetition now, a pleading, Tishma Koli, listen to my voice at daybreak, in the morning. Boker erach lecha va'atzapeh. So now it's this next verse emphasizes verse 3, but how does it change? What's the difference in verse 4 and verse 3? So the name of God has increased, so to speak, to escalated to the Yud He Vav He. And it's at daybreak. In the morning, I'm calling out to you. So at the very beginning, so to speak. And remember, we look at the word boker as being both a time of day and metaphorical, as we do in the Psalm for Shabbat, which you've often heard me say when it says baboker chasdecha and balelot, the contrast between morning and night. Boker is in the very beginning, I'm calling to you, in the very earliest moment. Ki lo chafetz rasha. Oh, resha, that's interesting, resha. I'm gonna just check that, resha. Chafetz is to desire. Chafetz is to yearn for. Chafetz is to, because ki lo el chafetz, because el here means God. Remember, Elohim is that plural form of God, and all those names that end in El, like Raphael, Gavriel, Emmanuel, all end in the name of God, El as a name of God. Because you are not a God who desires resha, evil or badness. Ata lo, you are not. Ata, you, not. Yegurcha ra. So the word ra, remember we came across the word ra and resha, rishaim, and ra meaning bad. So these are two different words for bad and evil. And evil, ra, will not live with you, will not stay with you. So now again, let me pause here because I've just done 5 verses. So let's see what are the any questions or comments. This is a longer psalm than we've had before. So let's stop there. Any comments or questions about verses 1 through 5?
Stephen's iPad. You have your hand up.
I know I have to change my name from Stephen's iPad. So Stephen's iPad's real last name is Raphael.
Okay.
So what you just said, I'm sorry, can you just repeat it? And anything ending in L means of God?
Or so Raphael, for instance, the name Raphael means God will heal. Because like Refuah, the name Raphael is God will heal. Gavriel, God will strengthen. So all the names that we have are Hebrew names that end in EL. The L part means God. And the first part has some kind of, so for instance, it's very common to name a child who's born sick or has Raphael. I did that many, many years ago, by the way. We had a congregant who had twins who were born very prematurely. And 25 years ago, prematurely meant something really different than it does even today. What has changed is incredible about early births. But they didn't think these twins would live. And I went to the hospital, and they were in, obviously, the NICU, the neonatal, the ICU unit, just for these tiny, tiny, tiny little babies. The babies were so small they could be held in a hand. The twins were so... And one of the parents didn't even want to give the kids names. They were so worried that they were worried about even attaching. The parents were completely falling apart. And so I did a baby naming. Obviously, I couldn't come physically in contact with them, but I gave, there were 2 children, and this is very traditional in Judaism. When a child is born like that and with such great risk, I gave one of them the Hebrew name Raphael, God will heal. And I gave the other one, who was a girl, the name Gavriela, meaning God will strengthen. And you should know, both of the children are alive and well. They've graduated from college. But we didn't give them English names. I just gave them those Hebrew names. And that's very, very traditional to do, to use those names they're considered the angels. Gavriel and Raphael are 2 of the angels. But because they have these names of God will strengthen and God will heal, it's very common to give those to babies that are at risk.
Well, can I just add one thing? So Raphael, is a German name from Berlin. My father was born in Berlin, but because they escaped and went to Chile, everybody that knows me assumes that Raphael is Latin because it sounds somehow Italian or Latin, and because all my family is Chilean, but it's really from Berlin.
Well, it's just Jewish. I mean, Jews all over the world from all different Jewish cultures name their children, or your last name Raphael is a very, very, very deep Jewish name. It's a beautiful name. It's one of the main four angels is named Raphael. So you are in good Jewish tradition there.
Thank you. Thank you.
You have a very powerful angel hovering above you.
Thank you.
Randy Sarakoff has her hand up.
Good morning. I have a question about the use of Yud Hey Vav Hey.
Yes.
As I look, I have multiple books, multiple translations.
Uh-huh.
I was surprised to see that in different Hebrew versions, one would use Yud Hey Vav Hey and one would not. Is there a standard for when to use Yud Hey Vav Hey specific to Psalms? Or is that up to the
It could
author?
be used in the same, that would be, the Hebrew changes it or in the English?
Oh, the
It couldn't
Hebrew
change
changes
in the Hebrew. Which versions change it? That's interesting.
Well, when I was doing my writing for Psalm 3, I noticed that. I can get back to you and let you know.
Yeah, I think no, I'm looking at pretty traditional. They shouldn't change Yud Hey Vav Hey unless they change it to a Hey for Hashem, or unless they don't want to print Yud Hey Vav Hey. Otherwise, they should do some marker that it's Yud Hey Vav Hey, even if they don't choose. But I'm looking at, because once Yud Hey Vav Hey, that means you can't ever throw that book or that piece of paper away.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And then when I was doing my psalm and I was looking at 4 different pieces, it wasn't consistent. So that's why I wanted to ask.
Look it up and show me, okay? And let me.
All right, I'll get it to
try
you.
and figure it out with you. That's very interesting. I'd be eager to hear more.
Thank you.
Rabbi Donna Gray just wanted the title again of the book from the feminist perspective.
Psalm songs.
Psalm song. I'll put it in at Facebook. Psalm songs. Who's the author?
Gaia Bernstein. Gaya Bernstein. And
Okay.
it's Arthur Kurzweil Press.
All right. We will find this. And Benjamin Shafran, you have your hand up.
Good morning. Rabbi, you've been emphasizing over the time the structure of how the Psalms are written. And it seems to be of importance. And I have a question on verse 5.
Mm-hmm.
A natural way to read it in terms of the meaning would be Kilo el chafetz resha ata, ending with the etnachta over there. Why would
Hold on
it?
just a second. Verse.
Verse,
Yep. Why is the psik there?
why are the 2 psiks in between?
Yeah. What do you think?
I don't know. I'm asking. I'm trying to
Yeah.
understand it.
And why is the key written smaller like that? What do you think of that?
Oh, that's a scribal error.
Now Harold's much more sensitive to the
But
scribal
actually,
error.
that's very interesting because I'm looking now that I just didn't increase the size of the typeface, but it comes out like this, and someone else might get this text and say, well, the text that I'm looking at, the key is written small, and then there would be generations of interpretation as to why this key
and that
written
is exactly how it happens. I got to tell you, it's exactly what happens. So I have to check the psik also on my other versions to see if the psik is in the same place because of the same reason. And it is. I have a.
It's also interesting that there's a repetition of the trope that it's mapach. That is not very common.
Yes, look at that. That's.
Right.
So Jacob, just explain that more. It's just for folks.
There are causal accent marks and connecting accent marks, and there are some that have a tendency to repeat. So, like for instance, munach, the one that's shaped like a backwards L, which we see under, I think under Yegur Cha in this verse, the second to last word, that you see it repeat a whole bunch of times in a lot of different phrases. But to have a repetition of the one that looks like a sideways caret, the mapach, at least in Torah, I've never encountered it.
Yeah. Well, and we know Psalms, the cantillation is hard to know what it means because we don't have a musical setting for them. But we do know the punctuation presumably would be the same, right, Jacob? The punctuation. Yeah, we would assume even if we don't know that. All right. Okay. So that's interesting. Ben, I don't have an answer for you. I'm going to think about it. But that's a very good point.
Thank you.
The only thing I could think about is the psik really is a little. Yeah, that's very interesting. I have to think about it more. I don't have an answer.
Thank
All
you.
right. Are there other questions or comments, Harold?
I think we're ready to. I think we're ready to go. Ready to get back
Okay.
on the saddle.
All right. So let's do verse 6, and then I think we'll end for today. And this is a long psalm for us. That it's 13 verses. We've had 6, we've had 9, and now we have 13. And this is for these numbers 6, 9, 13. This is pretty common. There are a few psalms that are really long, and we're not close to them yet. But this is the number is. It's important to look at that for the structure of how the psalm is set up. And you know what, Harold? Can you put up the list of questions instead of my doing another verse? Do you have access to that or no?
Oh yes, I do.
Yeah.
Hold
You know,
on.
we're going to stop right now because we'll get back to Psalm 5 tomorrow. I want to show everybody, and Harold, I think, sent it out to everybody.
Yes, I did. Hold on, let me find it.
I developed these questions when I taught Psalms, 27 years ago at CBST. I then lost it, but lost that piece of paper. But I taught Psalms again some years ago, and Marcia Melnick still had it in her file. And this is also, of course, pre-internet. So when you lost a piece of paper in those days, you lost a piece of paper. But Marcia saved the piece of paper. So I want to look at those questions briefly and ask people to be aware of them. And if it's too much for today, Harold, we could do it. Okay.
If not,
So these are some of the basic questions to ask when you encounter any psalm. It's not the only questions, but now that you've had some experience with some psalms, keep this by your side, so to speak, when you encounter the new psalm, and we'll just to be aware of them. So these are the questions, some of which we've already been engaged with, but always start with who is the speaker? Does the speaker change? Does the speaker speak individually or collectively? And what events might have inspired the speaker? Sometimes by that I mean a national event, or it could be a personal tragedy that you might try and understand. Does the speaker undergo any changes in the course of the psalm? And what is the speaker's relationship to whatever God is? And then whatever God is, number 2, what are the images that are used? Is the God that's described in the psalm very distant or close to the speaker? Is God seen as acting through history or through the natural world? Is God spoken of in the third person or spoken to in the second person? In other words, do we speak about God or do we speak directly to God? And if so, what difference does it make? And does it change, by the way, in the course of the psalm? What are some of the dominant images and what role do musical instruments play? What role does water, light, or air? So these are the 3 different kinds of classical parallelism which we've discussed. Synonymous, where the parallelism, the 2 parts of the verse are somehow synonymous. Sometimes they're antithetic, meaning they're exact opposites. And sometimes they're synthetic, meaning that somehow it develops or it creates a combination that's bigger than the individual ones. And what role do these images play? As a reader, how do you relate to the emotion of the psalm? And when can you imagine reflecting your own life, your own reality, or your own feelings? And then the various types of psalm. Is it a psalm of trust or confidence, praise? Is it a psalm of wisdom literature? Is it a psalm of lament? Is it a thanksgiving psalm? And some psalms have elements of all of these things, or a couple of them, or okay. And then enemies, and then we'll end for today with Jacob. I think, yeah, we'll have to come back to these. But again, how are the enemies described in the psalm, and are they external or internal? And we'll hold off on occasion for now. I encourage you to print that page out and to keep it with your psalm study books, because it's very useful as some questions to be asking yourself.
Jacob, there were many requests that you sing us out the same way that you sang us in. Would that be okay with you?
I already grabbed my guitar. I saw the comments earlier, and thank you all for the lovely comments. You have to be careful with those Cat Steven comments. You're going to inflate my ego a little bit here.
Hold on, I'm having trouble getting that one up for some reason. Hold on.
And I also realized one of the reasons why I think I resonate with the language in Psalms 3 and 4 so much. Growing up for me, Hashkivenu was one of my favorite prayers. And so there's just, for me, I think so much similarity, particularly in those couple of verses.
Yes, absolutely. The sense of wanting peaceful sleep as a profound.
All right.
And to be able to wake up again and face whatever is coming the next day.
Take it away, Maestro.
All right. Make sure I've got my sound settings good. Yes. Oh, nope. Have to do that. There we go. Lay me down in peace. Lay me down in wholeness. For you alone, oh God, keep me safe from harm. Lay me down in trust. Lay me down in faithfulness. And let me not forget that you are with me. Koli el Adonai ekra. Vaya aneni mehar kodsho. Koli el Adonai ekra. Vaya aneni mehar kodsho. Lay me down in peace. Lay me down in wholeness. For you alone, God, keep me safe from harm. Lay me down in trust. Lay me down in faithfulness. And let me not forget you are with me. Lay me down tonight, but don't lay me down alone. And when I call out, will you answer? Holy El Adonai Ekra. Vaya aneni mehar kodsho. Holy El Adonai Ekra. Vaya aneni mehar kodsho. Lay me down in love. Lay me down in gratitude for all that I still have and all that's yet to be. Lay me down in grace. Lay me down in glory and raise me up again for a new day. Holy Adonai Ekra. Vaya aneni mehar kodsho. Holy El Adonai Ekra. Vaya aneni mehar kodsho. Holy El Adonai Ekra. Vaya aneni mehar kodsho. Holy El Adonai Ekra. Vaya aneni mehar kodsho.
Wow, so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. So continue studying Psalm 5 and get to Harold any of your Psalms 1 through 4. And we'll continue tomorrow. Loving you. Have a beautiful day.